In this tutorial, we'll be making this door lock, focusing on modelling with curved surfaces and learning how to use the shear operation to make those nice 45-degree cuts on the cylinder. So let's just go ahead and delete everything and bring in our reference images. And as always, you can find these reference images in the resources section of my Discord server. So we'll just go Alt-R, rotate X and 90, and then G, Y and 7, just to push it back an arbitrary amount so we have some space to model in. With our reference image here, we're just going to set the depth to back and the side to front. That way it just culls out the back of it. Set our pivot point to the 3D cursor, Shift-D, R, Z, and 90 to rotate it around 90 degrees. And then we'll just press this 2 here to make another instance of it. And bring in our side reference. And then a little bit different this time, we're going to go Shift-D, R, Y, and -90, so it goes down to the bottom there. And press 2 again, and we'll bring in our top reference, and we're just going to need to rotate this 90 degrees around the Z-axis. Cool. So with those set up, let's go ahead and bring in a circle, and just change the vertices count to 34. We can rotate this 90 degrees along the X, and then I'm just going to align this with the base of the reference image here, so just try to get it roughly in the center. Around there, and I'm just going to scale that down a bit. So that's close enough. Not perfect, but that's okay. So let's tab into edit mode here, and with our vertex select mode, let's go E for extrude and pull it along the Y just until we hit this little crease in the middle here. And so I can tell just by looking at this that the normals are incorrect, and if I put face orientation on, they're all red, so it is wrong. So I'm just going to select everything, Alt-N and flip to just fix that up. And we only need to bother about modelling half the model, so I'm just going to go into wireframe mode here, just using Z to tab into that. Well, sorry, to enable it, I should say. Select half the vertices and delete them, and then we can go ahead and bring in a mirror modifier and enable clipping. Cool. So, we need to define sort of where these faces are going to sit here, right? Because we have one shape here that then connects into, a circle and, it all connects up. So first of all, we want to define this area. We can worry about the circle afterwards. So let's go select 1, 2, 3, 4 of the vertices along the top here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 along the bottom. Press N to bring up the end panel, edit, and in our loop tools, we're just going to use the bridge operation. Connect those all together for us. And then holding down Alt, we're just going to select this group of loops here on this little ellipse, and press F to fill in the faces. Select this edge here, Shift S, and cursor to selected. Now, putting that cursor there is important, as we're about to do the shear operation on this, and that 3D cursor is going to determine our pivot point for where the shear is going to occur. So we're just going to change our pivot point to the 3D cursor. Select this ellipse shape here. We'll go 7 to see it from top down. We can just go into wireframe view to make it easier to see. And what we'll do is we will go Mesh, Transform, and Shear, or you can use Shift, Control, Alt, S, but that's a lot of buttons to press, so let's just go Mesh and Transform, Shear. And so, if you start to move your cursor around, nothing's going to happen. If you press Y, however, you'll notice that it starts to shear. And what we're going to do is we're just going to press 1, because that's the correct angle. I think that puts it at 45 degrees. And there we go, that makes the whole process quite easy for us. No booleans or anything of the sort, just using one operation. And yes, we have a big n-gon, but we will clean that up in due time. So, with that, let's just go ahead and select these faces in here, and I'm just going to put my pivot point back to the bounding box. And I'm just going to, I might do this from the top down view, I'm just going to extrude this out. Just about here. So just to explain what I'm looking for here and why I've stopped here, right? So I'll just hide these. So this is a circle, or more like a semicircle, right? So at around this point here is kind of where it cuts itself off. So you can see that's roughly a semicircle. So I'm just eyeballing that. A way that you can kind of see it, see the aliasing on the edge of the reference here, so you can sort of see it when it's zoomed out as well. You can sort of see that it's a nice straight line here, and then that aliasing kicks in. So that's how I sort of determined that it's around there, and I think that's where... So I've pulled it out a little bit further. It's not the end of the world. But just to try to explain why I'm pulling it out to where it is. So I might even just pull that back a bit, just to there. Cool. So that's defined that big block of the shape there, which is nice. So let's go ahead and introduce another circle. So I'm just going to press Shift-C just to put our 3D cursor back to the center. Bring in a circle, and we're going to change the vert count of this to 24. And with this one, what we're going to do is going into 7 again. I'm just going to pull it out just so that this top vertex here is sort of sitting along the apex of the reference image. So I'm just going to pull that back on the y-axis. So just somewhere around there. Then going into edit mode, I'm going to select that vertex, Shift S and cursor to selected. Then making our 3D cursor the pivot point again, I'm just going to scale this in just until it roughly matches the shape. So around about there. Cool. And then the only other thing we need to do is we just need to pull this up so that it fits in with the reference. So an easy way to do this, if we just go to our snapping tools here, we'll just change the snap base to active, and we'll change the snap target to vertex. And we'll just go G, Z, hold down Control, and I'm just going to snap it to this edge, or vertex, along this edge here. Nice. So, what we can do is, let's just go ahead, while we're in edit mode, let's just select the entire loop, Shift D, and I'm just going to pull down a duplicate version of this circle just down to the bottom here. And once again, similar to the way I explained before, I'm just sort of going to bring it down just until I can see that aliasing kick in. So just around there. And then that way I know everything that comes after that is that bevel. So we can just bring that down to there. And the next thing we can do, similar to what we did already, is just cut the whole thing in half. And then selecting this new 24 vert circle and holding down Shift and selecting our other model, we can just go Control J and join the models together, and now we have the other halves. Cool, so we've still got more topology in here than we need. So I know that this vertex here, is going to merge with this one. So we can just go ahead and delete all these vertices because we don't need them. And then just selecting this one, and selecting that one, we'll press M, and we will merge at last. And then we just want to select these interior faces and delete those, because if we start to fill everything in, then we'll have non-manifold faces, and we don't want that. Cool, so let's just go ahead, start to fill in the faces at the top here. And you'll notice we get to this point and we don't, well, we could fill in this face, but that's not going to look nice. It's, all of a sudden it just flattens out and you don't have that nice curvature anymore. So what we'll do is we'll stop at that face there. We'll go Control R and add in 2 loops. We're going into vertex select mode. We'll select this vert, shift select this one, M, merge at last, and repeat the same process for the other one. And then just go into the side view here. I'm just going to select this row of verts, and we'll just pull this up so that it matches the reference image. And we'll do the same for this lot here. Pull those up. Cool. So there's one thing I don't like. I don't like that we have this quad sitting on the edge. It's just going to make some irritating shading when we use this method. So what I want to do is I just want to push this quad that we've got here one step in so it's not sitting on the leading edge of our model here. So very easy way to do this, using K for the knife tool. Let's just cut in an edge there. Select the 2 edges around it and we'll just delete them. And then we can just use Control R to cut in 2 new loops. And then just fill in those missing faces. And quite simply, let's just select between these points here. And I'm just going to use a space operation. And then I'm just going to select the horizontal facing ones. And we'll do it down to here as well. And we'll go space. And we'll do a relax operation on those ones as well. And I'm just doing the relax just because it will make the curvature at the back here just look a little bit nicer for the cylinder, because we have added in an extra loop, and that should just help smooth it out. The only other thing I'm going to do, just check here, let's chuck in our subdivision surface modifier. It's a bit early, yes, but, oops. And just bring it up to 4, and I'm going to set this to smooth shading. And I'm just curious, That doesn't seem to be causing any pinching or any errors, so we don't need to muck around with that. Cool. Just wanted to check that because in my practice I had some instances where that was sort of poking out a bit, so just wanted to check. Cool, okay, so we're almost done with this. What I want to do now is let's go ahead and select this bottom circle. Let's go E and extrude, pull it up on the Z, and the normals are flipped, that's okay. And then press G, Z, hold down Control, and we'll just snap everything up to this vertex here. And then we can just use L to select this cylinder and go Alt N and flip, just so that all the normals are now correct. Now, we could go ahead and run a Boolean operation on this. Personally, I'm not going to do that because I just think it's going to be more cleanup than it's worth. What we're going to do is most definitely more of a manual process, but I just think it works a little bit nicer. Just personal preference. You can use a Boolean here if you want, but I'm just going to do it my way with snapping. So first and foremost, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this vert here, and this vert over here, similar to what we did at the top. It sort of will skew the circular shape, but I'm not particularly worried about that in all honesty. So just to repeat, select this one first, this vertex second, M, merge it last. And I mean, afterwards we can always go ahead and run a space operation to just sort of clean up the distribution if we want. Cool, so we've got that. Then what I'm going to do in our snapping tools, I'm just going to change the snap target to face. I'm going to go ahead, select this vertex and go G, Z, hold down Control. And just repeat that for each vert. So just hold down Control on the face that it should be associated with. So here, G, Z, hold down Control, snap that there. That one there. And G, Z, Control there. Cool. So this has just started to match up this curve with this curve. Sorry, this circle with this curve would probably be the better way to describe it. And so now we can just go ahead and start to clean this up. So I'm going to select this vertex, M, merge it last. And then similarly, select this one, M, merge it last. Select this one, select that one, M, merge it last. Cool, so you'll notice we've got a little bit of a discrepancy here. So we've got three vertices, that aren't connected to anything, and technically we've got a big n-gon here, which is far from nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut in, so using Control R, we're going to cut in an extra loop through here. And I'm just going to run through, select these, and I'm just going to use the space operation there. And might just do a relax as well, just take it down a bit. And so with this new loop and this new vertex, I'm just going to select it, select this vertex here, M, merge it last. So now we've just got two that aren't connected to anything, and these ones are easier to clean up. So we'll go Control R, and you'll notice we can bring in a loop here, which is handy. Oops, because these aren't connected. So let's just go ahead, let's just delete this face here. And we're going to fill in a triangle at the end here. Oops. Sorry, we'll fill in a quad to start out with, my bad. I just dissolved the edge that we did have there. And then I'm just going to hide that face, Control R again, slide it along, and then just using the knife tool we can just cut a loop in, and then we can fill in a face there. And we can probably just go ahead and space. Oops. Actually, no, we can probably just leave that as is. It might make more distortion than it's worth. So, yes, we do have a triangle here, though much like in the deodorant bottle tutorial, it's actually going to sort of work in our favour, and yes, technically we could go ahead and add a loop in through here to make it a quad. From my experience, it's not going to help us all too much, so I'm just going to leave it as a triangle. It's not going to destroy our model, I promise you. So as I said earlier, let's just go ahead, let's select this, and let's space these out. And I still don't think we need to space these. I think it's going to be more trouble than it's worth, definitely. And so just to see what's going on, actually before we do that, let's also, as I said before, let's just space these out and do the same for the top here. We'll just space these ones out. Sorry, I was using my shortcuts. I meant to be using space up here. Sorry, it's such a habit that I'm trying to stop doing for this series. My bad. So let's go ahead and put smooth shading back on, toggle the subdivision surface on, and we can start to crease this area up. But first, let's actually select this bottom row of edges, select this top row of edges, and we can use the bridge operation again. And so that's cut out all the hard work there for us, which is nice. And so let's go Control R to add in a loop. I'll just drag this up to start to pinch in this area up here. And then we want another loop that runs through here, but you'll notice if we go Control R, it sort of terminates and sort of all looks a little bit funky. What we'll do instead is we'll select all of these faces just down to this ellipse, and we'll do an inset. Alright, so we'll go Inset, and just make sure when we do it, so I've only pressed I there and that's caused an issue, so let's go I and B to inset to the boundary. And we'll just drag it in just a little bit, like so. And you'll notice that sort of helped us create a nice crease along here, and as well as along here, which coincidentally has softened up this area for us. Cool. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and Alt Select. Actually, no, we're not going to crease those. Instead, what we'll do, we'll go Control R, we'll add in a loop, and we'll just pull this up near to the edge. Normally I love using creases for most of my hard surface modelling, but this is an instance where just using traditional edge loops works a whole lot better. But where we can use a crease is just through here, so I'm just going to Control Select that, Shift E 0.33, just a fairly soft sort of crease. This looks nice. And we can sort of harden that crease up a little bit more using Control R, add in a loop, and just bring that in just a little bit closer. And now it's a little bit more defined. Cool, so final stretch here, let's just use K and let's just cut in some loops here. Go down there, to that one there. Cool, and so now we've got quad-based topology through there. Alternatively, you could get rid of that final edge there. We could cut in 2 loops through here, K, and do that, and that's also valid quad-based topology. I think I kind of like this version better than having this edge here, just because it sort of gets a little bit tight along there. So I think that just looks a little bit nicer as well from a visual standpoint. Now we can go ahead, press F to fill in the cap at the bottom here. Just press I and make sure you've pressed B like before to have the boundary. It should automatically apply from before. This one I'm going to do a crease of 0.55 and then just do another inset through there. And then we'll fill in the cap at the bottom here. So let's go F. And before we do any of the insets, I'm just going to select the outer edge. And we can use the reference image as a rough guide here. So I'm actually going to bring it the whole way down. Sorry, I just remembered how bevels work. Bring it the whole way down, and then I'm going to go Control B, bring it up, and I'll add in 4 segments. That about lines up. And we're just going to go ahead, do an inset on the middle just to add an extra support. And that's pretty much looking done. There's just one problem. If you look at the front here, I'm just going to isolate this with Shift H. If you look at the front here, it's not exactly a straight line running down here. Notice how, might be a bit hard to see. Yeah, here we go. Notice how it sort of tapers off at the end here. It's just because there's not enough topology. Like, this is a massive sort of face here. So if we want to make this straight, what we'll go and do is Control R, GGEF, sorry, without the F, just GGE. We'll just drag this down, just bring it in there, add in a little bit more support, and now you'll see we've got a nice straight edge that only starts to taper off at the end and not the whole way along the model. So yeah, there you go. We've successfully gone and, just just wanted to rotate it in the X. Successfully gone through and made something that looks fairly complicated with, nice flattened out edges on curved surfaces and cylinders intersecting with curved surfaces. And hopefully I've broken it down into a fairly easy and manageable solution for you. So if there's anything else that you'd like to see modelled or have any suggestions, please feel free to put those down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.